Does everyone know what the Max Cole report is? No? Okay. It's going to be a long night. Clearly, the Max Cole report was created by the Labour Party and the Conservatives together. This is not a partisan thing. This is about right and wrong. It's not about blue or red. It wasn't the Conservatives coming to take over. It was the Labour Party and the Conservatives saying this is wrong and this needs to stop. The Max Cole report states very clearly of 65 anomalies of where friendships gain control of assets. Assets that were sold for £1 that were later sold weeks later, months later, for millions and millions of pounds. In The Guardian, which is a Labour newspaper, it said it was £100 million. I'm saying it was more like £200 million. And that's nothing to do with the £320 million that we had to borrow in order to do the highways for the potholes, which within months went 13 million over budget. Why did it go over budget? Because there were 5 contractors that were paid before they finished the job. When Tony Reeves came in as the chief exec, he said, I'm not going to pay you any more until you pay me back for the jobs you haven't done. They went, no problem, we'll go bust. And they went bust. We lost 13 million. Now, you don't know that, do you? I can tell by the gasps. That is a fact. That's in the Max Cole report, and it's a fact. It is clearly collusion between council officers, factually, and individual companies that gain the contracts from those friendships. The Max Cole report is something that it is there, loud and proud, and there to see. Friendships, collusion and corruption. Okay? Greed. It's the 65 in the Max Cole report of anomalies. But let's go on to, you could argue that a list of buildings such as this will cost more to refurb than the end value. Because the cost sometimes is so much because of its listed status. With a piece of land, you can't have that argument. All land is worth money. There's nothing that should ever be sold for £1. And I'm just going to give you an example. If you watch the podcast, if I find a piece of land tomorrow and I say to my council officer or council or mayor or whatever friend, and I say, I want that piece of land, I think, here's my plans, I can get 200 apartments on that piece of land. If it's in the city centre, it's worth £20,000 to £25,000 per planning permission, per apartment. So if there's 200, that's £4 to £5 million. Now, in order for it to go through the council process, it has to go in front of the council officers, and they have to state why they want to give this away. And they say, the reason why we're gifting this away, because there's going to be 200 apartments, that's 100 years of receiving rates. So they sign it off as £1. And then weeks later, and the shortest term is 8 weeks, and the average week is 13 weeks, so not a long time, that individual then gets planning permission, because already agreed, because that's how they got out in the first place. He then gets planning permission for that site, for his 200 apartments, and he walks away with day one, £4 million profits, which means he can sell it the next day between 4 and 5 million to whoever he wants. That's happened tons of times. All we have to do, if we're not corrupt, is say, what, you want that piece of land? No problem. What, 200 apartments on it? No problem. I tell you what, we'll go through the process because we own the land, we own the planning process. At the end of it all, we'll give it to you for 4 million, or we'll give it to you for 3 million, or we'll give it to you for 2 million. But we've never done it. And in the council report, mostly done through delegated powers, which is not the standard process. And in all councils, they have to abide by the Nolan principles, which means you need to get best value. And what it says in the Max Cole report is, we never gain best value.
Now, what Lawrence is talking about, you'd expect these issues to be raised in the scrutiny committee. They are not raised. They are not raised. And that shows up this pathetic debacle that's running this city at the moment, how bad they are. That's all I wanted to say.
Was with the Labour Party locally, they just colluded with collusion to friendships in order, in my view, to get backhanders. So absolute power corrupts, absolutely. What's really disturbing is the last one was one saying, it's really good now. There's nothing to see. So that's what's concerning. Well, so if we don't understand history, then history will repeat.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we need to all understand and all educate ourselves. Because I could tell when I first walked in the room, there wasn't an awful lot of people that have read the report. Now, the report is damning of how the council is ran, but how the council will fall back in to run, because Joe Anderson had to stand down from the Labour Party because of what's transpired. Joe Anderson can't sign this off. As the mayor, it has to go down the line into council officers to sign it off. No one else has been suspended. No one else has been told to stand down. So the cabal that supported Joe, that mechanism, is still there today, okay? So if it is still there today, it won't be long before they go back to go and collect again. Tonight's about understanding just what the council have done when they've gained what is our main assets. And to give you some example of that, and I know I'm going on about it, but we all need to understand this. Liverpool owns 15,000 properties and an immeasurable amount of land. We are not skint. We have a lot of value underneath our feet, a huge amount of it. Yet we're walking around with our heads held low. And there's no reason for it. But the skill set is based on what's been an autocracy. And we need to create a meritocracy. People need to be there based on their skill set and not on their friendships. Every single person in Liverpool needs to hear of the transgressions of the local Labour Party.
We don't expect it from our own people, but this is what's happening. It's ways we expect it from the Tories. We don't expect it from people of our own. And this is what's happening, so it's got to be the catalyst for people to get off their arse. Instead of having the apathy of thinking 15% get on board, but it's got to be explained to them and say to them, listen, it's not the Tories running our city, the Tories are running the city for a reason. If our city council was brilliant and distributed the wealth out across the citizens of the city instead of the top few, the places wouldn't be a shithole. Kirkdale, County, Anfield, Evans, Tubrook, to name a few. They're getting left behind. Where's the investment? It's all going in people's arse pockets and ends off.